All right, guys. So this is my kitchen sink board. This is the Mark 13. So this is the 13th iteration of this board. I think I'm finally finished. The last update I made to this board was that I put the steel string and the UltraPhonix in parallel, and I did that by getting a Y splitter box to split the signal, connecting both to the drives, and then summing them with the JHS summing amp. And the overdrives, they're the last thing in the signal chain. Another thing I did, I moved the EVH chorus to the front of the amp, and I also the diamond, the microvent, and the vibrato, those are in the effects loop. They used to be in wet dry, but now they're hitting the both amps in mono, I guess. And then when we go to the chorus, it goes stereo. As you can see, I'm using output A and B. And then from the CE2W, we then go stereo into the plethora, and then we go left and right from there. I guess I can take you through the signal path really quick. So first we go to the full tone Clyde Deluxe wah. I have the input buffer engaged. What that does, it only engages the buffer when I have the wah pedal on, while I have the fuzzes. Like that, I can retain that sweep of the wah pedal. From the wah, we then go into the bender, then Supreme, 3 series fuzz, Beano boost. Then we go to the Polytune 3 with the buffer engaged, because it has a bona fide buffer. Like that, we have some signal conditioning at the beginning of the signal path. From there, we then go into our pitch effects, so like the whammy, and then Pog 2. And then we go to this little box here, this TrueBypass loop switcher by American Loopers. And in each loop, we have we have the Crybaby Q zone in one and the Qtron Plus in the other. And as you can see, there are the respective pedals. After the TrueBypass loop switcher, we then go into the Sentry noise gate. And the Sentry noise gate is always on because, as you can see, I have an EVH foot switch here, which controls the channel switching of the EL34 50 watt 2x12 combo. I also have a 6L6, and that's how I go stereo. And I'm only using the Poweramp of the 6L6. So that being said, with any high gain amp, the distortion channels are always going to be really noisy. So you have to have a noise gate, which is why that noise gate's there. I'm running the noise gate 4-cable method, so it's going into the front of the amp and in the effects loop. So from the TrueBypass loop switcher, we go into the input of the Sentry. We come out from the send, and then we go into this Philosopher's Tone micro compressor. Then we go into the Deja vibe, and then the 3 EVH pedals, the phaser, the flanger, and then the chorus. And then after the chorus, we then go into that splitter box by American Loopers. We split and go into each overdrive, and then they get summed up by the JHS amp box. No, the JHS summing amp, right? And then that hits the buffer interface by Vertex Effects. It actually hits the left mono output buffer, and that hits the front of the EL34. What else? Now, okay, effects loop. Before I go into the effects loop, I'm using the send of the buffer interface with the foot switch. So the foot switch connects to the send of the buffer interface, since it's a non-input buffer, a non-buffered input, and then that hits the amp. Like that, I can control the channel switching with the amp. All right, so send from the amp is going to hit the input buffer on the buffer interface, and then that'll hit the return of the Sentry. We're going to come out of the output, and then we're going to hit this Vertex boost, followed by the Lele mono volume, and then the JHS little black amp box. From there, we're then going to go into the microvent Rotary, and then the diamond Tremolo, followed by the vibrato, and then the chorus. And the chorus is where we make the split. We go stereo from there, and we go left and right into the Plethora X5. Now, one thing with the CE2W, output A is where you get the affected signal, output B is the unaffected signal. So I want the unaffected signal to go back to the EL34. So output B actually goes into the mono input of the Plethora, while the output A, which is the affected signal, goes into the stereo input of the Plethora. Okay. And then we come out of there left and right. The mono output will hit the return buffer on the buffer interface, and I'll hit the return of the EL34. And then the stereo output will hit the stereo output buffer on the buffer interface, and that'll hit the return of the 606 amp. And then I have the Boss G7 in the insert loop of the Plethora. And then I have this Midi Mouse right here, so I can scroll through the different banks of the Plethora. What's really cool is that if you hold this button down, it takes you into standby mode, and then you can skip up to, you know, preset 25 and have it on standby, and then when you're ready to make that switch, it just switches it right there. So that's something that's really cool about this this Midi Mouse. And that's the signal path. So now I'll do a little run through the whole system here. So right now I always have the reverb on the 606, and that gives me a wet dry reverb sound. Right now, let me fix this real quick. The reverb is at 2.5 on the 606, and then it's on 2.5 on the EL34. So we have reverb from 1 amp, and if I want reverb from both amps, I'll just turn it on here. We have a fuller reverb sound. So let me turn that off. So right now the only thing that's on is the noise gate. Everything else is bypassed, nothing else is on, other than the reverb coming from the 606. Right, and then something I like I'll actually go over the bass tones, right? So right now we're in clean. I like using the steel string. You can hear the difference. So there's more treble, right? So this is more bassy. That's more bassy. And this is more trebly, more pointy, which is good if you want to get into the it's very bassy without that steel string. So if I want my clean signal to cut through more, I'll turn on the steel string, right? Next, let's go to the UltraPhonix. So this right now, so I was on the neck pickup. Right now I'm on the humbucker in series. Now my guitar, I have the humbucker wired to series here. So, and then I can do single coil, and I can do parallel. So the difference between parallel and single is parallel has more high end, and it's I guess fuller since it's 2 pickups, and then single coil is just, you know, you're like more of the thin sounding type of pickup sound. All right, so let's get into that UltraPhonix. more sustain, I'll actually turn on the compressor. And that's what I use the compressor for. I use the compressor for more sustain. Turn that on. If I want more saturation, I'll use the Beano boost. So as far as the clean signal, those are like, I'll use the UltraPhonix and the steel string. And then we have fuzz land over here. We have 3 fuzzes to choose from, so let's just go through them all. So right now, I'm in single coil mode. Then we have the Supreme, which is your more Hendrix thing. Next we have the 3 series fuzz. So with the 3 series fuzz, you can use it as a fuzz face, but I like using the bias knob on it so I can get that sputtery type of fuzz thing. So I have the bias knob at noon, and I don't use the fat switch. That little switch is a fat switch. I don't really use it. So let's go humbucker. Then we have the Beano boost. So I use the Beano boost in conjunction with the UltraPhonix. But something that's really cool. So my guitar, it doesn't have a treble bleed. And what happens is when you start lowering the volume, it starts to get more muffled, and it sounds like there's like something over your guitar tone or something like that. So the treble boost, it kind of acts like a treble bleed. So I keep it in the middle position as far as that little switch goes, which is your I guess the middle is high, up is mid, and down is low. So I keep it in the high position. So here's full on. I'll go treble series humbucker. If I want more sustain, I'll add the compressor. Now I'm gonna roll the volume down, and you're gonna see how it really cleans up nice. Let me turn out the compressor. keep the knob at noon. I mean, here's the knob at full. Here's full blast. So I'm just lowering the volume on my guitar. It does a really, really good chimey cleanup. And if I want to go full on rock mode, I really like that. I'm actually going to keep it like that. So there's your treble booster. And you have your Polytune, which is, so here's something I really like about the Polytune. I start off by just strumming all the strings. So I'm in tune, except for the G string's a little bit off. So it'll tell you which string is off. Like that, you don't have to go through every string. I'll go again. I don't know if you guys can catch that. I think the camera's a little too far away to really catch how. But there, we're in tune. Next we have the Whammy. The Whammy is one of those pedals that I literally bought it just so I can play the Killing in the Name solo. For example, I'm gonna go to channel 2 of the amp. So you know. I literally bought it just for that. Like, I think I actually bought the number 4, the Whammy 4. I like to keep it on the octave up, octave down setting. So like that, you can get a cool octave up sound or octave down. So that I really love the Whammy for that. And then something I kind of discovered with it, I went into this harmony thing over here. See, fourth, I think it's 4th up, and then it goes to 5th up. So I'll start at 4th down. And I discovered this thing where if I held this weird chord, so without it, it sounds like this. That's the chord. But if I arpeggiate it with the Whammy, so I have the little switch on it on classic because I want that weird tracking. Now if you want it to track better, switch it to chords and it'll sound, it sounds a lot better, but I like that glitchiness, which is the signature classic Whammy sound. I like that for this particular thing that I just played. Next, let's go. So the compressor, like I said, I use it more for like what do you call it? A sustain thing. And I like that it has a blend knob. And what I like about this compressor, it doesn't raise the noise floor. I don't really use it as a typical compressor for like the funky stuff, but if I'm playing a chord and sometimes you'll play something, you'll play a chord or you're arpeggiating something, and it sounds like some of the notes are not loud enough. You turn on the compressor. It brings everything to the forefront, but it also adds sustain. So you see how it's still ringing? And if I turn it off, it's very subtle, but I can hear it. I think it's more for the player than it is anything. The Q zone, I like that for that like Boston. I was listening to Boston and I figured out that he had like a cocked wah sound. Or like Frank Zappa, he has like a cocked wah sound, but he uses the wah pedal for that. But this is like, if you don't want to go to the wah pedal and find that sweet spot, I can just go straight to the Q zone. You can get that thing with it. Then we have the Qtron Plus, which is your... the first place I ever heard the Qtron Plus was in Inca Roads by Frank Zappa. So the part where he goes... Let me go to the clean. That thing, I'm like, I gotta have that sound. And you could just play funky stuff with it, like play funky stuff or whatever. And then we have the Deja vibe, so let's go into a... I always think Hendrix when it comes to that. Very nice univibe sound. And then we have the Pog 2, which I wanted to have complete control of the octaves with the sliders. So right now it's set to the whatever the sliders are at, but then if you click over here, you have all the different presets. What do we got here? So one really cool sound I kind of came up with was, I turned the rotary on. Actually, let me go back to the regular, this one. Sounds like that organ at the baseball game. How is it? All right, here we go. There it is. So that's the rotary and the Pog. Really cool. That's really all I use it for. It's just for fun. And that's really what this pedal board is. It's just to play and have fun. This is not for traveling or anything. This just stays at home. I recently got my pedal board, a travel pedal board, wired up by Brian a Million. And once that comes in, it should be coming in tomorrow. Eventually I'll make a video and I'll demo that. So anyways, something that's really cool about this Pog is that it has a detune setting, and that can give you a really nice chorus sound. So that's like a shallow chorus. Here's a deep chorus. That's cool. And then you can also use it as a boost, a clean boost. So basically all the sliders are down except for the output slider. That's all the way up. So here's on and off. So here's your regular signal. You can hear it adds just a little bit of more output to the front of the amp. And that could be useful when, you know, stacking like UltraPhonix. So I'll use that every now and then. What else do we got? Let's go to the phaser stuff. So let's go to the phaser. Actually, there we go. It's distracting having that little light on if I'm not going to use it. So I have it set to more the way Alex Lifeson used it in the earlier records. So like, for example... So that's more your phase 90 sound. If I turn on the script, it's a little more subtle. So yeah, if you really want to hear the phase effect, remove the script and it's more vocal like that way. Then we have the flanger. Now, with the flanger, I had a hard time tweaking flangers. This is like my fourth flanger, I think, or third. And I just got tired of it. I just wanted to find a good setting, and I used the EVH preset on this flanger, which is your Unchained. And that works pretty much for everything that I want to do, really. So, you know, like you heard right here, has that signature flanger EVH thing. And then for clean, I like using that for like chords. Very swirly, you know. Then we have the EVH chorus. So having the EVH, I used to have the EVH chorus in stereo in the effects loop, and that gave me a really nice chorus sound. You know, give me that true stereo thing. But I wanted to move it to the front of the amp because that's how Eddie used it, really. And then do the stereo chorus with the Wazacraft CE2. So here's the chorus. Very glassy. More like pristine sounding. And then if you add it to like a distortion channel. Very cool sound. So if I want more of that subtle type of John Petrucci, especially with the distortion channel. Almost Alex Lifeson like, that type of thing. But if we go to the CE2, the chorus is more apparent. You can really hear it. It's more of that classic 80s chorus, especially on clean. So here's clean EVH chorus. And now the CE2W. I like both of them, but it just depends on what I want. Do I want more of a subtle chorus, more pristine sounding chorus, or do I want that 80s thing? So if I want the 80s thing, the CE2W does it in spades, and I'm using the CE1 mode. I love the way that sounds. The vibrato, I basically keep everything at noon. The microvent, which you heard it in conjunction with the POG, but here's the microvent on its own. And we have the tremolo. So that I love the way that tremolo sounds. I saw Joe Perry had it on his pedal board, and I figured, well, if he has it on his pedal board, it must be good. So I went out and bought it. And Joe Perry's actually, along with Brad Whitford, they're the ones that got me into rock and roll. They're Aerosmith's my favorite band. So, anyways, so what else do we got? We have the boost. This boost is amazing. It doesn't add anything other than volume, which is really what I want when I want a boost. I just want to be louder. So here's... Right, so you're playing... If you want to be heard, put this boost in the effects loop and it's going to crank your amp to 11. More like to 15. And I only have it at noon. And I still have more range on that boost. So take my word for it. If you just want a clean volume boost, this will do it, right? What else? We have the Lele Mono Volume, which is my favorite. Let's add a little delay. you know, great volume. I love the sweep. I think it uses some type of a sensor, so you don't have to deal with scratchy pot noises. It's built like a tank. It is active, so you need power for it. And it's built like a tank. I don't know what else to say. It's amazing. I love it. Let's see. We're almost done here. We have the Plethora. So with the Plethora, so the first thing we have here is this effects loop insert. So I have the GE7 on there. And as you can see, there's a little bit of a mid scoop. So I use that to get more into heavy metal territory. So let's go to channel 3. So that's what that's there for. And we have this, let's see, put it clean. So we have that ping pongy type of thing with the echo and with this one too. So this delay, which is the flashback 2, this is actually which one is this one? The dynamic delay, which I have the quarter note and the eighth note. I use that for volume swells and stuff, which you heard earlier when I was playing Xanadu, the intro to Xanadu, and then this. Hold on. So that's another cool thing. If you put both of them on, you get this sound. But I don't really use that. So this vintage echo, I'll use it for more like U2 type of rhythmic type of things, like that's what that's there for. Then we have this doubler. So I don't know if you can hear it on the video there, but when you're standing between both amps and you turn that doubler on, you can really hear the left and right. So I guess that's more for me than it is anything, and it just sounds really cool, especially, you know, if you're playing something with distortion. It sounds like there's two guitars. So if you're playing, for example, you're playing something like Metallica. You get that doubler thing, you know, so that's cool. And then we have the reverb. Now I mentioned I have a wet dry reverb setup with the EVH amps. So the 606 reverb is always on. Now if I want a fuller reverb sound, I'll turn the other one on and have reverb coming from both. But now if I want more reverb, I have the Hall of Fame 2 reverb. This is one of the tone prints. It's the EMT 140, which is that studio plate reverb that basically everyone used back in the day, like Hendrix and Zeppelin and you name it. Turn this one off. And then we have, so here I have 3 reverbs. I have the EMT, I have a Cathedral, I have a room with a big, wait, what is it? Big room with a view. So let me show you what that sounds like. Very ambient, so to speak. And then I have a little looper here for fun. You know, if I want to do like a little, you know, I can just, let me see. So I'll loop this little rhythm. So that's gonna go. And I can solo over that. So that's a really good practice tool, you know. And yeah, that's, you know, the Midi Mouse, this, sorry about that, bumped a little stand. The Midi Mouse helps me scroll through all the things. And then I think the last thing I didn't talk about was the JHS little black amp box. So right now I have the volume dialed a little back on it. So here's the volume all the way up. That sounds great, but it might be a little too loud for other people in the house. So I'm nice to them, and I'll turn the volume down a little bit. And that's really all that's for. It just turns it keeps everything you have and lowers the volume. It works just like the volume pedal would. So let me. That's too loud. But I want to still use my volume pedal, so instead of lowering the volume with my volume pedals to be quieter, I use this. You know, and then like that I still have the full range sweep. So that's the rig. I think I went over everything. The buffer interface handles all the ins and outs from the pedal board to the amp. The guitar is going straight into the wah pedal. Oh, the wah pedal. I actually never used the wah pedal. So here's the wah pedal. So that's on the Jimmy setting. I basically have, there's 3 knobs on there. I have them all set to noon, and the buffer switch is on. So like that, if I do use a fuzz, you actually have the full sweep. Now, so here, if I turn the switch off, this is what happens. There's a little bit of a sweep. Let me turn that back on. And that's it. that's the rig. Here's my pedal board of doom, kitchen sink pedal board, whatever you want to call it. I was just tired of playing that game of finding the perfect end all be all pedal board, and this is what I ended up with. And with this board, there's really nothing else that I would ever need. The Plethora has a few other things in there, like pitch shifting, harmony stuff, that if I want to use it, I can just set up a new bank and, you know, have fun. And that's what's cool about the Plethora too, is that you have so many different configurations of, you know, if I want to try a compressor in the effects loop, I can do that. You know, there's so many options. Pitch shifter, there's like what is it, quintessence, you know, an octaver, different styles of effects and different voicings, you know, you name it. But I basically just wanted the Plethora to have, you know, I used to have I moved these other pedals to my travel board, which was the Hall of Fame 2 reverb, Flashback 2 delay, Ultra Ego Vintage Echo, and I had the Dreamscape for chorus. And I'm like, I want to get the Mimic Doubler, but you know, at that point I might as well get a Plethora. So that's what I did. And you know, I have these 2 chorus pedals, so that opened up this number 5 slot. So I'm using it for the EQ, like that. I have access to it, and it doesn't have to always be on. I can turn it on and off as I please. And you know, there's tap tempo and mash function for these effects here. I think the Hall of Fame. Let me see. I'm not sure what the mash does for that. I think it already came. Like I said, that one's the tone print. But you know, I can go into the tone print editor and edit it if I want. And if I want to change the tempo of the delay, I can add the tap tempo feature to it. Really cool setup. I'm very happy with this pedal board. Oh, another thing, the parallel overdrive. So let me get to that. So, let me turn off that. So there's an obvious difference when you have the steel string on and then add the UltraPhonix. Now, if you have the UltraPhonix on and then you turn on the steel string, it's a very subtle difference. Basically, it adds a little more treble to the sound. I didn't like the way they sounded in series, so that's why I placed them in parallel. And then, because there's always that thing where like you forget to turn the pedal on or off, or you know, because sometimes I'll do this. I'll be at the UltraPhonix, but then I want to go just to the steel string, and then I'll do this, right? Or I'll be at the steel string and I want to go straight to the UltraPhonix. But there have been times when I click the UltraPhonix and either I don't click the steel string well enough for it to change. It's very subtle, you know, but I like having it in parallel, just because I didn't like the way it sounded in series. So parallel was the other option, and I'm happy with the parallel, you know, change. And I'm really digging having this EVH in front of the amp. It sounds so nice. But I have to admit, I do love the C2W in stereo. If you haven't played stereo, you have to try it. And get a stereo pedal like the C2W stand right in the middle between both amps, and you're gonna see what I'm talking about. It's the sweet spot. It's so addicting, just the stereo sound. So I'll play a little, let me see. It sounds so good. So there it is. There's the pedal board. There's the setup, the sound examples, and then here's the amp or the amps. There you go. You can see what I'm using. Well, that's it. I hope you guys liked this demo. If you guys want me to demo any of the pedals or any combinations, just let me know. Leave it in the comments below.